everyone. Welcome to Wine Down, the podcast where we talk wine and everything that goes with it. Thank you for joining us. Today we have wine and steak. We have Chuck from Butcher and Bird.
That's right.
Very cool. That's a very interesting name. Can you kind of share what happened?
So I'm the butcher, and my wife's nickname is Bird. She's an aerial dancer, so she kind of got that name from flying all around. So it's a family business, and I just kind of wanted to include that in the name.
That is so cool. How'd you guys meet?
Maui. It was almost 8 years ago. I was working as a chef over there, and we met up with mutual friends. And a storm came rolling through, and the power went out in Paia. So we went up to our kitchen. They had a generator, and we spent the whole day just cooking and drinking and hanging out and connected that way.
So she just loves steak, or
no?
Oh, she doesn't.
That's great because Moani hates steak.
Hate is a very strong word.
Oh, she doesn't hate it. She just doesn't ever eat it.
It's a very, don't ever say hate because that's a negative, but it's just not my liking. It's not for me.
Yeah, she'll have some every once in a while, but she's, more veggies and fish and stuff like that.
Yeah, there we go.
That's amazing. So it can exist.
Yeah, there can be balance. And she's a Packers fan, and I'm a Bears fan, so I mean.
Oh, whoa.
There's all kinds of dichotomy in there.
But you guys made it work this long, so hey.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with having this whole concept and?
So the concept is just part of my trade. If I go back all the way to when I started as an apprentice, it was 2001. I'd just gotten out of the military. I just moved to Chicago because I visited the city and I loved it.
Hence the Bears.
Hence the Bears. To date myself a little, it was red pen and classifieds, circling ads, and I saw one for
I'm just joking.
right. A pen is a writing instrument.
Oh, cool.
Paper is it's ancient. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, Chuck.
So I answered an ad for a butcher apprentice, and I knew it was a union job, so I'd be well taken care of. Just something to get me going, and I love the craft, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. And how many? You have one location?
Yes, it's called Our Kakaako.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. And your Instagram handles, and if you have a website.
Yes, Butcher and Bird is our Instagram. Butcher and Bird Hawaii is our website.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great Instagram, by the way. It's a great follow.
Really?
Yeah.
It'll make you hungry.
I mean, not for Moani, but it's a good follow for
I will
the
definitely
rest
follow.
of us.
Wine, yeah.
What are we drinking, Chris?
So I know the bird doesn't necessarily like steak, but does she like wine? Does she like to drink?
Oh yeah.
Do you like to drink?
Yeah.
You came to the right show, Chuck. Everybody talks about steak, right? Like big steak. I mean, steak and steak houses. We think big Napa cab. I know. When's the last time you've actually been to a steakhouse?
At least a year or two.
Right? Because
I could do it better at home.
I was gonna say, can we dig right in?
Oh, absolutely.
Actually,
While it's hot?
Yeah.
So 2 different steaks. I'm not going to tell you which one is which, so you can taste and see what
Blind
you think,
tasting
right?
steaks.
One is a USDA Prime, 30 days dry aged ribeye. The other one is Snake River Farms American Wagyu ribeye, not dry aged at all.
So the difference between dry aged and non-dry aged.
Right. So dry age is basically you take a larger subprimal, is what they call it, and we put it in a chamber where it's got controlled humidity and temperature, and you dry the whole piece of meat out. You'll lose 15 to 20% of the weight of the piece of meat and water that evaporates out of it. So what that does is concentrates flavor. There's enzymes in there that break the meat down, make it more tender, more flavorful, and also it just sears really well too, because when it hits the pan, there's no water steaming out of the steak. As soon as it hits that pan, it starts to caramelize and crust.
So since you're talking about cooking the steak, the one thing that I do know is that you're supposed to leave steak to rest for a certain period of time. Otherwise, if you don't leave it to rest, you start cutting it. Why exactly does that happen? And the juices, is it the blood?
Well, the juices sounds better. Well, juices is fat, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, when you're picking out a steak, you're looking for a nice fat content, not globs of fat, more like a feathering of fat within the muscle. So when the fat is good, they call it a self-basting steak. It's basically making itself juicy as the fat melts inside. So if the fat is still hot and very liquid and fluid, when you cut into the steak, it's going to run out. If you let it rest for about 10, 15 minutes, it'll kind of congeal enough to where it's still juicy, but it's not cold fat.
So cold fat is not good fat.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Cool.
Kind of coats the tongue a little bit.
I don't really like fat on my steak. I'm like one of those. I'm like, can I just cut off the fat and then give it to somebody who likes it?
Sure.
What is your ideal piece of?
I think filet mignon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
It's
see.
just so tender and it's just, the right size. Well, most of the time.
Very lean steak.
Yeah, but I really like this one. I haven't got to try it with this wine. How do you drink it with the wine, Chris? How does it work?
Oh, you know the show, right? It's basically however you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just eat it.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Or
Yeah.
just like me, just drink.
So we,
All right, well, we're going to have to take a quick break. I'm sorry to cut you off, Chris. Not
I was
really.
just going to talk about
But
the wine.
anyways, when we come back, we'll talk more with Chuck. See you guys soon.
Cheers.
Rest easy with the new windows from Windows Hawaii, featuring Elite Extreme windows with their exclusive sound reduction and security package. Call 671-0808 today. Enjoy Andis Winery's new painted fields Cuvée Blanc featuring the sought-after Vermentino varietal, exclusively at 7-Eleven Hawaii.
We're here with Chuck from
Butcher and
Butcher and Bird.
Butcher and Bird. Okay, so the bird.
Bird.
We keep referring to your wife as the bird. Does she
Right.
have a name?
Yeah, it's Jessa Simpkins.
No,
Okay.
it's just called Bird.
It's just
No,
Bird.
her name is just
Just
Bird.
Bird.
Now it's just Bird.
And small world, I actually know your wife. So when you were mentioning the whole story with your wife and what your wife does, that she literally was the first thing that popped in my mind. But I was like, I don't know. But I know that she did get married, so it's very nice to meet you.
Did you
Thank
know
you.
her as the Bird, or you knew her as Jess?
I didn't know.
Jessica?
I knew her as Jess.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Rad.
She got tattoos too. That was dope.
Yeah, I had to catch up.
Oh,
I was gonna say, did you catch up? Because she has. Wow.
A lot of couples do that. Like when one person gets tattoos and they both start
Yeah.
getting all tatted up. It's interesting.
So what did you guys think of the meat?
I haven't
it's
tried it yet. I've
delicious.
been drinking all day. And the wine. Did you like the wine?
The wine's awesome.
Cool.
really
So
like
we talk about like steakhouse pairing, and I know it's like different because like you haven't been to a steakhouse in a long time. You do it better at home.
The steak I do,
awesome,
yeah.
Chef. Yeah.
My wife picks the wine, so.
This is we think about steakhouse. We think about the classic pairing is Napa Cab, right? And I think about the most classic Napa Cab, and it's Joseph Phelps for me.
Yeah.
In the 1970s, he created a winery that was named after himself, and it really is like one of my go-tos as far as steak goes. I mean, we talk about wine and food pairing, and we get really geeky, and I don't think we need to. I think it's like just keep it simple, right? Why
Sure.
does steak and Napa Cab work? Well, because people have proven that it worked for decades in steakhouses. This particular wine is amazing. Their high-level bottle called Insignia was the wine of the year for Wine Spectator in 2000. Tons of history. I'm going to ask the producers if we have enough of the budget to actually open this bottle and drink it.
How
But-
much does?
250.
250, 300.
That's one of my father-in-law's favorites.
Oh.
You know what, Chuck?
Lark
Let's open that.
Mead, this guy, like,
We're
yeah,
opening
he's,
that for
he's
sure.
into the Napa, so now I can brag to him, like, yeah, it's some Insignia today, how about you?
In that case,
Guess what I did on a Monday?
He's like, I'm sick of that stuff, I've been drinking it.
well, we will open it for sure.
Awesome.
So is there like a certain piece of meat or steak that's, since we're going through like this is like a $250 bottle of wine, is there a certain meat that's around that pricing or?
I could make it that way if somebody's interested in buying a $250 steak.
Yeah,
I can get
wow.
it there, but really what you're looking for
Or
is...
I'm sorry, how do you sell it or how
So,
do you?
so everything's full
distribute
service at our shop, right? So you have a big case with all the different cuts of meat in there, and a knowledgeable staff. They're gonna talk to you about like, oh, what do you like? You want something leaner? You want something fattier? Well, how about a New York strip? It's in between ribeye and fillet. So we kind of figure out what your preferences are, right? And then, like with these two, the dry aged steak has a totally different flavor than a not aged steak. Some people like it, some people don't. It can be kind of funky. It can be kind of like a blue cheese, almost salami flavor to it.
Oh.
And some people taste that and be like, oh, it's kind of weird. Other people taste it and they love it. So it's just gauging what people are interested in. And I guess the answer is there's no better choice. It's just what you prefer.
Okay.
preference?
So
Just
tell
like
us-
wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, Joseph Phelps is amazing. We do a disproportionate amount of business to Hawaii, and that's because the national sales manager, KK Dickerson, she's so like embedded in the culture here, and we sell so much of this stuff for our per capita. It really is all about relationships. The juice is amazing, obviously, and it has all the accolades. But are you like close with the farmers that you're sourcing the meat for? I'm sure you have a personal relationship with a lot of them.
For me, it's about my relationship with the vendor that I work with that procures all this stuff for me. I have a really great working relationship with him. We've been working together for 3 years now, and he knows what I like. He's also aware that I understand the business, and he's not just going to send me stuff that he's tried to sell. We've been through that already, that positioning of like, hey man,
I know my stuff.
I know what's good and what's not, and this is not good.
Did you see my resume?
No, so, and yeah, in the last couple of years, I haven't had anything pretty much come through my shop where I wasn't super stoked on.
That you wouldn't cook yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, Joseph Phelps is no longer physically on Earth with us. He passed the winery on to his son. Is there something to be said about family, like legacy? Every time I go to your shop, so we met at a fundraiser actually, and your boy was back there working the line. Like,
Cool.
He's 13 now.
We're gonna hold on that thought. Okay. We're gonna answer that right after this break.
And drink Insignia.
Yeah.
120-day peace of mind guarantee exclusively at Inspiration Interiors. Inspiration will refund you the difference if you find a lower price on identical merchandise delivered in Hawaii. When the sun comes up, your bill goes down with Revolusun. Call 748-8888 or visit online at revolusun.com now. Hawaii's premier solar provider. Before we went to break, we were talking about your son,
Right.
who is 13. So does he go into the shop with dad, and
Oh, yeah.
what is his role?
So he's been helping me since we started farmers markets like 4 or 5 years ago when we were developing the brand and everything. And he used to handle all the money and stuff like that. But now it's to the point where he knows his way around the kitchen. If he comes in and says, hey, I want a cheeseburger. Well, you know where the grill is. Like, go get it. And he loves it. And for me, it's great to pass on knowledge and tradecraft. And if he ends up being a butcher, great. If not, it's always something he can fall back on. And it's just fun to have him around.
So how do you get into being a butcher? Like, what are the steps?
We're gonna totally gloss over child labor laws though.
I don't pay. Doesn't count.
Nah,
It's 100% illegal. Like, no pay,
5 years
no nothing.
ago,
Yeah.
it was what, 9?
Really? There's no pay?
Oh, I
When
pay.
you're no, but when you're starting off
no. No, you start out and you get paid as an apprentice.
Oh,
I started out, I think it was like $9 an hour, but that was 20 years ago.
How was that? Was that hard?
In Chicago, yeah.
Jeez.
But at the same time, I knew the reward was going to be at the end. I mean, you're dealing with a lack of knowledge, and you're handling expensive product. You're making mistakes. You can't pay somebody top wages when they're slow,
right.
Inaccurate, stuff like that. And so the idea is to progress as fast as you can and get better. And as you get better, you get paid more because you're more efficient and you're contributing to making money for the shop.
Speaking of lack of knowledge, tell us about the different types of steaks. No, for just people I love steak, but I don't know the different parts and what makes a filet mignon what it is. And
Sure.
So go ahead and tell us about
So it mostly has to do with muscle movement and anatomy. So if you think about a steer, right, all the weight's up front, the organs, the head, everything, it's very heavy up front, and it sits on those front legs, right? And so all that meat up front is very tough, but develops a ton of flavor. So that would be your chuck roasts and your stews and brisket and slow cooked things that will fall apart over time after you cook them. And then the rear end is where you get New York strip and filet. The muscles are used less, so the flavor's not intense, but they're more tender. And then you get into grade. So grade has to do with fat content. Basically, how they do it back in the day is they would split the animal straight down the middle, and there's little spaces in between the spine, right? And you could see the meat inside of the muscle, and they would look at the fat content and grade it anywhere from select, choice to prime. Prime is the highest grade, and it's only 2% of the entire herds in the United States. So it's really top level, but it's not a guarantee of a good steak. It's a grade, it's not a quality.
So it just denotes fat content.
Right, so there's genetics, there's feed, there's proper rearing, there's, how was it raised, where did it go, all that stuff, it translates into how the product comes out, and you can really tell.
So would you say that you don't have you've tried it all, and I'm sure at one point you had like a favorite piece or a way that you prepare your steak, but now looking at it, do you not have a favorite? Do you like it all, or it's just with the mood, just like with wine, whatever you're in?
It's pretty much with the mood, but I can definitely say the Snake River Farms, their American Wagyu, it's always it's always great, every single time. I've never ever thought, oh, this one's a little bit off. It's whatever they're doing on their ranch, they're just killing it.
Wow. You okay over there?
I'm over here
I'm
grabbing
having a
the
moment.
least fattiest.
So you
Don't bother me.
You tried them both, right?
I actually just tried one.
Yeah.
Having a moment, let me
Don't put
be.
me on the spot. 'Cause I have this. People think I'm a good blind taster for wine, right? I have no idea. They're both delicious to me.
Yeah.
They really are. Is there one thing I'm supposed to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I don't know what to look out for either.
I would look out for the flavor, right? So one of them is gonna taste more like a classic piece of red meat. And then the other one's gonna have that little extra, here, it's carried in the fat. So take a little piece of this fat.
You don't need to ask
I'm
me
good
twice.
with that.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask
Take
me
the fat.
twice.
Chew on that guy a little bit. So that's where you're really gonna notice the difference.
When we talk about fat and different
Okay,
marbling,
well,
It's like
before
butter.
we get back into this whole fat chewing, we have to take a break. We have to go over to Tevis for the cocktail of the week. When we get back, we'll see what Chris has to say
about fat,
about fat.
I know all about
I
fat.
don't like that.
See you guys soon.
Thanks again, guys. Welcome back to today's cocktail of the week. Something I like to drink when I'm eating steak is cocktails are a little more full and robust in flavor. So we're gonna do a little variation of a Manhattan here for you to pair with those steaks this week. First thing, I wanna use some rye whiskey. Any rye will do. I have some old Overholt 100 proof in my hands. We wanna do 2 ounces here. This is gonna be a stirred cocktail, so you could use a pretty mixing glass like this. You could use a pint glass, anything that pretty much will hold the alcohol and also hold a little bit of the ice to stir it up. Right here we got a little bit of sweet vermouth. We'll do 3/4 ounces here. Balance out these flavors. We're gonna wanna add a little bit of bitterness to it. So we got 4 dashes of Angostura bitters, just a classic aromatic bitters. And the last thing is to add a little sweetness as well. We'll add a bar spoon of sherry here, sherry wine. Stir this up. You can serve this over a cube, large ice. You can serve it however you want, really. The way we're gonna do it today is serve it in one of these pretty glasses. So stirring versus shaking is gonna incorporate these ingredients in the cocktail, without adding any air. Tastes pretty good to me. We'll go ahead and strain this into our glass, and our garnish is gonna be a cherry. And typically steak just has a lot of flavor, a lot of juiciness, something bitter, slightly bitter, I'd say, a little bit of sweet, a little booze forward goes well with that. We'll garnish that with that cherry there. Got the knockout. Cheers.
So welcome back to Wine And. We were talking about fat.
I know all about fat
I
for
like
sure.
fat, but go ahead, enjoy
So
your
what did you
fat.
think of
You
it?
don't like me? Well, so we talk about different fat, and we talk about different levels of fat for grade, for cut. I like to think about that as far as wine too. So like Napa Cab having the entry level Joseph Phelps, but having Insignia, which is like obviously more expensive, a touch above, a little bit more oak, a little bit more tannin, like that plays well with fattier things. And that's why you have a winery that produces like great grade A stuff on the entry level, but like you have their top-notch bottling that's a little bit more, that pairs with a little more fat. And like, I want to give everybody sort of like a hack, like a steakhouse hack. It's not just about Napa Cab. Those are expensive. 5% of all wine coming from California is Napa, so it's very rare. It's very expensive. I want people to taste wine like this. We talk about Bordeaux grapes, so grapes that are made. Yeah, we got to empty a glass, unfortunately. Bottoms up, but grapes that are made in Bordeaux, France, and that are like made in the same region, but they're not just made in the same region historically. They are actually related to each other. So these are offsprings of each other. Merlot is one of them, and Merlot gets a bad rap, but it's essentially Cabernet Sauvignon, but cheaper and with less tannin. So things that you can pair with your filet, things that you can pair with your New York, instead of having the fattier.
Was it Flair or Pear?
Monty, it's been a long day. All right, can you let me off the hook?
Play on.
Why is it that most reds go with steak? Like, why not white?
It's all about tannin.
Okay.
It's all about tannin, that mouth drying thing with fat. It literally, tannin is not something that you taste, it's something that you feel. It's a tactile sensation. So it literally sucks up the saliva from your mouth, which leaves your mouth dry. The same thing with fat. And that's why like the Cabernet Sauvignon is the king of red grapes. It has a lot of high tannin, but its offspring and its siblings, like Merlot, has a little less tannin and can be paired with the cuts that have a little less fat. So you think about spending $70 a bottle for wine, but you can get away with spending $20 on a bottle and have it be pretty good.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm drinking a lot of that stuff, for sure.
Do you have, besides, you get all the prime cuts, but do you have a favorite steakhouse that you like to go to? I know you said you rather cook at home, but
Chuck's house.
Yeah, I'd rather cook at home, but I don't know. For some reason, it's probably because my wife and I, one of our first dates, we went to BLT, and so the food's solid enough and the service is nice, but I think it's just nostalgia for us. So when we do go, that's usually where we end up going.
BLT.
The bird.
Yeah. She gets like sushi or something there. Like, whatever.
You're like, whatever, I'm gonna get a steak.
Whatever.
Okay.
We're at a steakhouse.
Do you get steak there?
I get steak there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
Yeah, no,
we're
I was
actually
like,
going to have to stop this episode, but we encourage all of you to go ahead and go to our YouTube extended version. Go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, let us know what you thought of the episode, and we'll see you there. But Chuck, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. Cheers.
Thanks for the meat.
Okay, so I'm just gonna get into it because I need to ask. But so there is medium rare, well done.
Sure.
And my boyfriend, he loves steak. He loves cheeseburgers, anything meat. But when he orders, like, I've noticed just with other people as well, like their steak is completely different to what they order when it's a hamburger or a cheeseburger. It's like medium rare, and then the steak is medium. So what is?
Do you look down on people that order their steaks well done?
It's tough. Like,
Sometimes.
Let's get to that kind
like
of content.
well done. Like,
Yeah.
man, come on, dude. Like, should I just
No,
throw that thing in the
listen.
deep fryer and I'll bring it out when it's done? Like, I don't know.
So there are, proper ways, right? There is an etiquette.
There is. So a lot of it depends on what cut you're cooking. So if it's filet mignon, which is very lean, if you cook that thing well done, it's going to be so dry and gross. Like rare to medium rare max is really where you want to be. New York strip, medium rare to medium. Ribeyes are actually best, I think, medium because there's so much fat in there. You got to give it time to all melt, right? But
So why do they have well done?
because
Like, why do they have that
it's got to be like
option?
from
People
like,
like Lonnie.
for the grandparents where they're worried about getting sick, maybe.
right.
like I don't know, like
okay.
I'm not sure where that comes from.
I didn't mean it in like.
Some people
I
don't
was
eat
just-
raw
No, I
foods
love
at
it.
all.
Well, and that's the thing with hamburger too. So to get a hamburger cooked medium rare, it better be like a really reputable place that you're going to, because the difference is if a steak sits and gets old, right, and develops bacteria, you throw it on a grill or a pan and it kills it on the outside.
Oh.
When you take a piece of meat that got old and you grind it, it's all throughout the entire thing. So you
Even
can
if you
cook the
cook it?
outside, and if the inside doesn't get hot enough, that bacteria is still gonna be a problem. So if you go to a burger place that only cooks up, like they're killing all their burgers, it's because their meat isn't that great.
Any chance we had for Moani to try beef is like out the
Gonzo.
window already.
No, and I have really tried. I've really tried, but I think it's just it just is so gamey and
That's not for everybody.
Yeah.
it's just like you gotta chew a lot of it.
Hey, it's wine and we're not here to meat shame anybody.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying
We're
that
not here to
they're-
meat shame anybody. You eat what you want to eat. That's why you look like that, and I look like this.
Is that why Lanai said you had to run?
I need to
Start jogging?
No, he said I need to jog.
You know he jogs stairs.
I can't tell.
You should go with him.
He really does jog stairs.
He does actually.
No, I know. I'm not here to. Hey, boss man, give us a job. I'm not here to
No,
talk
but
bad
honestly,
about
like,
boss man.
so well done is for, say, people that just don't want to get sick from having steak, or if they're a
Possibly,
little
or they
bit
don't
more-
like the sight of
uneducated,
or they just it's gross because it's red. It reminds them too much of flesh, and they are not into it, but they feel like they have to have a steak or something. I really don't know.
Have
do
you
you
ever?
like-
Oh yeah, no, go.
How do you like your steak?
Usually medium rare to medium.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Have you been to San Fran and gone to House of Prime?
No. Mm.
Tell
I
me
get a
your
little bit of
story.
brownie points because
Tell
at
me your
least I
story.
went into that establishment and I did not eat any of it.
Where you had
But-
the potatoes and the cream spinach.
I had and I tried a little bit of the salmon. But so prime
God.
rib, what exactly is that? Because I just look at it and I'm like, whoa, that is a lot on a plate.
It's massive, right?
It's massive.
So it's basically the entire ribeye section still on the bone, and so usually prime rib they'll roast it and you get nice and medium all the way through, or medium rare in the center. But
it's large and in
I mean,
charge.
it's a classic establishment.
yeah,
for
like
sure.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Lowry's in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
The like OG steakhouse.
Yeah.
You go in there, they still do like the spinning salad thing in the bowl, and like the
Table side service.
the carving guy's all white
carving,
with
yeah.
white shoes and not a speck of blood on him, and they're slicing your ribeye, and it's fun. It's like a super like old school 1940s, 1950s feel, and it's cool.
How was it growing up in Chicago? Like
I didn't grow up in Chicago. I moved there when I was 21.
Okay.
I was there from 21 to like 30. I loved it.
So
Chicago's
growing
great.
up, because that's like
I was growing up
you're
there.
never
You're
like,
growing up, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like legal drinking age is like actually growing up.
Yeah.
You visit cities where like you.
A lot of
yeah,
my
you can't
developmental
drink.
years were spent
Exactly.
in
Right,
Chicago.
right.
So
But
yeah,
as-
food, just music, entertainment, like everything's. Oh, it's a great city.
I need to travel there.
it's
We
awesome.
Need to travel.
I heard they have a really good eating nightlife scene. Everything.
I think it's better than New York, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah,
Does it get colder than New York?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It gets crazy cold there, really cold.
So when did you actually like? I love steak. Like,
Yeah.
like what age and why did you decide to like advance with
Yeah,
it?
what was the aha moment? We talk about aha
Yeah.
moments all
Aha
the time.
moments.
What's the aha moment where you're like, no, that's it. Like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
This
be a
is my
butcher.
thing.
And then to be able to pass it on to like
Yeah.
to actually own a business and to have a legacy
Right.
here.
So for me, the aha moment was, I don't think there's like a specific moment where it's like, oh wow, this is it. It was the relationships I developed with people in a neighborhood. So Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, right? It's a bunch of little neighborhoods. And you'd have people coming in, sometimes on a daily basis, and you know their kids' names. You don't see them for a week. Oh, how was your vacation? You know like their lives. And you develop a repertoire and respect and trust that is just a part of a chain that I've developed on my end with my vendors and procuring stuff, and it flows all the way down through. And so the care that's been put all the way through down to the customer, when they get home and they eat it, you can taste it.
Yeah.
Like you can tell it's something that was taken care of. So to me, it was just that connection of being able to,
It's gratifying.
yeah, I'm doing this thing that's important to me and it's important to them, and we're like connecting the whole thing. And that's kind of what our business is right now. Like when you come into the shop in Kakaako, we know people and we talk to them, and how's your day going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Are
a
you
good
there
connection.
every day at the
Oh yeah,
shop?
every day.
I feel it. I mean, the first time we met was at a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's all these literally the best bartenders, the best people in the industry. Like, and I didn't have a job. Like I was like, oh wait, what can I do? I'm the wine guy. Like, whoa, yeah, this is awesome. I want to help. And like I was just like basically like I took cash.
Yeah.
for Chuck at Butcher and the Bird, like we can tell the commitment to community, the commitment to furthering. Yeah,
it really does
can
shine
feel
through.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So for our listeners that like might not be so steak savvy or people that don't know, the first thing about cooking, like is there a foolproof way to cook a steak?
Okay, so the reverse sear thing is popular right now.
Tell me about that.
For me, I'm like,
What's that?
what is this? This is something I haven't heard of, and I've cooked a ton of steaks in my life, and what the heck is this thing? So basically, you take your steak and you put it in a 200-degree oven for maybe like 35 to 40 minutes, depending on how big it is. And it's pretty much already at the temperature you need it to be. And then you just sear it after that, and it's good to go. Wow. And for me, I was always like, oh, well, is it going to dry it out? Like, it seems weird. And I've tried it, and it's actually pretty decent way of like nailing it.
Wow.
So, for me, I'm used to searing it, popping it in the oven for a minute, high temperature, and then, resting it, slicing it. But this way seems to be pretty foolproof.
Oh.
And the good thing too is if you buy a quality piece of meat, people are always nervous. They're like, oh man, this is like a $30 steak. I gotta cook it at home. I might screw it up.
Yeah.
My father-in-law is one that likes a medium well, right? And if he's cracking a bottle of lark meat or insignia or like something like that, cool man, I'll cook it however you want it.
Yeah.
And I've taken some of these steaks and I've cooked them to medium well and eaten them, and they're still great. So like even if you overcook it a little bit, it's got enough fat in there, it's gonna kind of keep it juicy, and they're kind of tough to screw up, to be honest.
I recently cooked a steak for my boyfriend. We cooked it in an air fryer, and I was like, I've never done this before, but let me just give it a try, and it was amazing.
I want to see Chuck's face when you say
It was
air fryer.
What do you think about
Say that
air
one more
fryer?
time. Say air fryer one more time.
Air fryer?
Oh!
I don't have an opinion. I've never used one, and I probably never will. But if I do, I'll let you know.
That's basically his opinion of air fryer, ladies and gentlemen. How was it though?
It was so good. The thing I like about the air fryers, okay, guys, I'm like really obsessed with this. But the
For
outside
vegetables, right?
is like crispy, and then the inside is tender, and it's always juicy. It just savors all of that, and that's what I need, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
you
awesome.
breaded it, or you just put
No,
the steak
just
in?
Throw it in
oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah. And season it.
Which is cool. That's practical for home use.
Yeah.
To have
not a
15 steaks on order, and you're like waiting for the thing.
Right? Like, how do you check the temperature?
Your onomatopoeia is
I'm-
perfect,
I
by
want
the
to
way.
cook the easiest way.
Like, how did you
So,
cook
Yeah,
this?
the foolproof.
So for me, it's okay, there's a couple ways. You can feel how the springiness of the steak by poking it with your finger.
Wait, so
There's the
Can
old
we go over that,
rare,
please?
medium rare, medium well.
So
So
this
as
is-
your
this is
muscle
the
gets
thing,
more
right?
tense as you put your fingers together, that muscle gets harder, right? And so that's supposed to be like, as you add fingers, it gets harder. I don't know if that like
Sorry, Chuck.
as you add fingers.
Chris.
So,
Moving
yeah,
along,
you can,
moving along.
You can,
Don't get-
yeah, so you can do that thing. The way that I've seen a lot of like the pros do it, and that they taught me, is it's a cake tester. So a cake tester is just a really thin piece of metal with a handle on it, and it's used to test cakes and see if the batter sticks to it. And what you do is you take your steak and you slide it inside the steak all the way to the center, right? And then you pull it out and you run it across the bottom of your lip. So when you're cooking on a hot line, it's about, 90 to 100 degrees. It's hot there, right? Your lip's always going to be around 98 to 100, depending on how hot you are. So when you drag the metal across the wire across your mouth, you can feel the outside where it was hottest, and then it gets cooler and cooler and cooler, and then hotter and hotter and hotter again. So when you're right in the middle and it feels kind of like warm bath water, that's right around 110, 120. And if you do it long enough, you can stick that cake tester in there and drag it across your lip and know exactly where it's at. If you stick it on your lip and it burns, that thing is way overcooked. If it's cold, it's under. But then you can start to have the gradient to where you can feel it, where it's hot to coolest in the center to hot on the other end.
Interesting.
It's seriously the coolest thing watching like.
Yeah, you
Just
see
do
that
that.
like the real pros, they just stick it in there. Okay, yeah, and then like 37 more seconds, throw it in the oven or in the broiler or whatever, and you can nail it that way.
Or you can throw it in the air fryer.
In the air
They
fryer,
already
yeah,
throw it in the air
yeah.
Screw it. I don't care about
So
Microwave.
a cake
Cake,
test.
it's called a cake tester.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they cost like $1.50 a piece.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they make fancy copper ones that you can buy for a couple $100 if you want to be that kind of person, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Bougie, yeah. So do you season your meat or you just cook it?
This one's just straight salt on this one.
Wow.
So that's the other thing too, that people make the mistake of putting pepper on their steak before they cook it. So if you sear a steak with black pepper on there, it's gonna make it bitter, right? So black pepper is an aromatic, right? An aromatic, when it hits something hot, releases essential oils, and it's more of aroma. It's not really taste. So if you cook the steak and right here, like after it came out, it was still warm, and then crack fresh pepper on there, it's gonna get that black pepper aroma.
I've been doing it wrong my whole life.
There's so many people that I've seen doing it wrong.
No, and trust me, this is probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago somebody told me that, and I'm like,
Wow.
so and that's, you're always learning something. And it's just like, yeah, like, oh, it is. It's an aromatic. Like, why are you killing it in the hot pan? You just.
So besides steak, what else do you do at Butcher and the Bird?
Oh, we make our own sausages in house. We cure our own bacon.
Which
we make
are
our pastrami.
So good.
Yeah, we make pretty much everything you're gonna get on a sandwich or a burger. We've made it in the shop. And then we also do, let's see, cheeses. We carry onda pasta. So he was doing farmers markets when the pandemic hit, and kind of threw him in a jam. So I told him, hey, Andre, you can come by and take a section of our cooler, no charge or anything, just like put your stuff in there, and we'll help him sell it and stuff like that. So that was one of the things we did in the pandemic, was reach out to all the guys at the farmers markets and be like, hey, if you guys want to bring product in here, like for pretty much no charge, just post this on your social media so we can cross promote and bring your stuff in and have a place to put it. So
What else have you guys been doing to pivot through the pandemic?
oh yeah, so right off the bat, I'd be scrolling my Instagram, right? So like, what's going on?
It's such a great follow. It really is.
Thank you.
Butcher and the Bird's such a great follow.
Thank you. And I noticed like lots of pictures of empty pasta shelves. I can't get certain things, right? So we transformed the store in almost like a bodega, or just like a neighborhood grocery store. And, and we're lucky because Kakaako, there's all those high rises down there, and the tenants that had previously probably just been going out or like doing other things, they're all of a sudden stuck in this neighborhood, right? And then they started coming through more. So we picked up a lot more clientele in the neighborhood through the pandemic, because we had milk, eggs, cheese, pasta, pasta sauce,
All local.
Yeah, we just brought it all from around, and
That's amazing.
yeah, so that was a big pivot. Online ordering, all that kind of stuff. But I think for us it was important just to be available, and we never mentioned our posts really.
Yeah.
Because as you know, you're flipping your Instagram and it's like, we're sanitizing door handles, we're doing this is what we're doing. Well, everybody was doing that, so it almost turned into just like you're just like hazing it over. And so we wanted to just say, obviously we do that because we're keeping things sanitized. Also, we have spaghetti and meatballs on sale for $5 today if you want to come by and get that. So we kind of try to keep things feeling a little bit normal.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. One last cheers, guys.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Sure, thanks
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna eat all of that.
Yeah.